My Henry, the man that once cried because I traveled for 2 days, impossible. My Henry will ever stay with me. I can assure you that with my full chest.
If someone had told you, Keria, that her husband would one day start behaving like a stranger, she would have laughed and called the person the joker of the century. Henry, the man that once cried because I traveled for 2 days? Impossible. But life, it doesn't always knock before entering. Henry stopped talking much. He would sit on the couch after work with his phone replying to unending messages. When she asked, Honey, how was work? He would just mumble, Fine. No smile, no gist, and no come and sit with me, just silence like a church on Monday. At first, she thought it was stress. Then she noticed he no longer prayed before sleeping. The same man who once led midnight prayers was now leading midnight sighs. One evening, Nora, her daughter, said, Mommy, Daddy doesn't look like Daddy again. You can't force to smile. Don't worry, my love. Maybe dad is thinking about his business. But deep inside, her heart was restless. She could feel that something was off. The day things became clear was on a Sunday morning. Yukira was dressing up for church where Henry suddenly said, I am not going today. She turned sharply. You? Henry that cannot even miss choir practice even with fever? He just shrugged. I don't feel like going today. You and Nora can go. She looked at him carefully. The man she married was sitting there strolling through his phone like church had suddenly become optional. She sighed. Okay, rest. I will pray for you. As she left, he whispered under his breath, Don't worry. Nora caught it. Her little heart sank. When they returned from church, Naomi's car was parked in front of their gate. Again? Nora muttered. Naomi came out wearing a tight top and jeans that looked like they were glued to her body. She was holding a full flask. Ah, bestie, she shouted, smiling too wide. I brought Sunday rice, so since you were in church, I said let me surprise your husband. Yukira smiled faintly. Oh, that's sweet of you. But Nora hissed quietly. They went inside. Henry was eating already. Yukira frowned. Babe, you didn't even wait for us. Naomi quickly jumped in. No, it was me that begged him to test it before it gets cold. Yukira smiled, but her stomach turned. The smell of the rice was too strong, like something wasn't right. Thank you, Naomi, she said. You always go out of your way for us. And Kama is here saying, Okay, oh, it goes soon clear. Naomi smiled again. What are friends for? But Nora's eyes never left Naomi's face. The girl was studying her every move and every fake smile. That night, while they were sleeping, Henry started talking in his dream. Naomi, please wait. Yukira woke up confused. She tapped him. Honey, which of the Naomis? He didn't answer. He just turned to the other side and continued sleeping. Her chest tightened. Her husband's mouth was now calling not just another woman's name but her best friend's name. She sat up quietly, staring at him as tears gathered in her eyes. She didn't even know when morning came. The next few days were worse. Henry started avoiding her touch. He no longer laughed at her jokes. If she dressed up nicely, he would just say, It's okay. Sometimes he would step out to clear his head and return smelling faintly of Naomi's perfume. One evening, while he was in the shower, his phone buzzed. Yukira wasn't the type to check her husband's phone, but her hands moved on their own that day. The first message she saw made her heart stop. I missed you already, from Naomi. I told you I would soon be with you. Don't worry, Henry replied. Her knees went weak. The phone almost fell from her hand. She dropped it back quietly and leaned against the wall. Her mind went blank, the kind of silence that screams inside your head. When he came out, she forced a smile. You are going out again? He said, Yes, so I just want to meet a client. She nodded, pretending not to know. Okay, Just be safe. But as soon as he left, she sat on the floor and cried like a baby. Later that night, she called Naomi. Bestie, I hope all is well. You have been close to Henry lately. Is there something I should know? Naomi laughed too loud. You Kyria, you and your jokes. Henry is your husband now, not mine. What will I be doing with him? Eukarya chuckled weakly. Okay, I just asked. I trust you. Naomi smiled into her phone, but the moment she ended the call, she smirked and whispered, Trust me? All right then, you will soon regret it. Nora entered her mother's room that night and found her crying silently. Mommy, what's wrong? She asked, wiping her tears. Yukara hugged her tight and whispered, Nothing, my baby. Mommy is fine. But deep inside, she knew her world was shaking. The man she once built dreams with was now slipping away like sand between her fingers. And the worst part, the thief wasn't a stranger. It was her own best friend, the very one she trusted the most. The day everything finally broke was on a Friday. The sky was bright, but inside Yukira's heart, it felt like midnight. Henry had stopped sleeping in their room for 2 nights. He said the AC in the guest room made him rest better. She didn't argue. That Friday morning, while she was frying plantain, she heard a car horn outside. When she looked through the window, it was Naomi's Sky again. She walked to the door slowly with the frying spoon still in her hand. Naomi came out wearing a dress and sunglasses big enough to hide her guilt. Bestie, you are frying plantain, she said. I can perceive it from here. Yukira forced a smile. Naomi, you have been coming here a lot lately. I hope everything is fine. Naomi placed one hand dramatically on her chest. You don't want me again? Is it because I come to check on my sister? Yukira sighed. You know that's not what I mean. I just need a space. Naomi smiled, that kind of smile that hides insults. No wahala. I will just stay for only 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes turned into 2 hours. Yukira received a call. She made sure Naomi left before leaving to attend to that business. Later that evening, she returned and was surprised to see Naomi and Henry smiling in a way that burned her chest. Wait, oh, Naomi. I thought you left this house before I left for my business. Naomi laughed. That's very correct, but I forgot something. Well, I was just about to leave. Yukira stood there holding her bag like a referee about to blow a whistle. Henry, she called out respectfully. We need to talk. But Henry waved it off. Not now. Please, I am very tired. He walked straight into the guest room, not the bedroom, and closed the door. Naomi winked at Yukira, picked her bag and said, Don't stress him too much, my dear. Men don't like too many talks. Then she walked out slowly, leaving behind the silence that could choke. That night, when she checked the guest room, it was empty and his car was gone. She called him. He didn't pick. She called again. Still nothing. By midnight, she was walking around like a lost child. Nora came out rubbing her eyes. Mommy, what's happening? Daddy's not yet back, she replied, pretending to be calm. Nora frowned. By this time? Yukira forced a smile. He will be back soon, but deep inside her heart already knew the answer. It went on and on like that. She prayed, but praying without applying wisdom is like leaving your door open at night and praying that the thieves will have manners. She decided to put an end to the madness, and especially because Naomi had left her husband with no plausible reason. One Sunday morning, she woke up and decided she wasn't going to church. She said, This woman has brought me nothing but pain. If I keep on pretending, she will finish what is left of me. That hour she should have been in church. Naomi came with food. Yukira stood by the door. Her voice was calm but firm. Naomi, please, I I have cooked different delicacies and they are very delicious. No excess salt, no excess pepper, and that's all the orishi you can think of. So, enough of all these your foods. Feed your husband and leave mine alone. Naomi laughed awkwardly. Bestie, what do you mean? Did we quarrel? Yukira replied quietly. No, we didn't, but I need space. A lot has happened and is still happening. So please, my dear, don't come to my house again. Naomi's tone changed immediately. So you are not too big to see me, right? After everything? Yukira cut her off gently. Naomi, I am not angry. I just know when a door must be closed before it destroys the whole house. I wish you well, but please, let's stay apart. And that was it. She tried again a week later, showed up at the gate smiling, but Yukira had already told the gatesman, if Naomi comes here again, tell her Madam said no, and you must not let her in. So when Naomi appeared again with a bag of fruit and a fake smile, the gateman stepped out and said politely, Madam thought say she no dey expect anybody o. Naomi forced a smile, nodded and left, but deep down she knew Eucharia had it up to here. It didn't stop there. Eucharia blocked Naomi's number. She stopped reacting to her posts and erased her presence from every part of her life. And for the first time in a long while, her heart felt peaceful again with no energy that made her spirit restless. Henry would sleep out for 1 week. She did everything a good wife would have done. She changed her lingeries. She was humble and respectful. She even shut out some businesses just to be available, but the more she tried, the more Henry rubbished her efforts. Several months later, she woke up one morning. Her phone buzzed. It was a Facebook notification. She opened it casually and the scream that came out of her mouth shook the house. There it was on her screen, a post from Henry's account. God has blessed me and Naomi with a beautiful baby this morning. Thank you, Lord. Eucharia's phone fell from her hand. Nora ran out of her room panicking. Mommy, what happened? Eucharia couldn't talk. She just pointed at the screen. Nora picked it up, read the post and froze. Mommy, is Daddy joking? Eucharia broke down completely. My best friend, my husband. There, she couldn't even finish the sentence. By afternoon, news had spread like a matan fire. Neighbors were whispering, family members were calling. Eucharia switched off her phone and sat in the living room like a statue. Nora sat beside her crying silently. And that moment, everything inside her felt broken. Not just her heart, but her faith in friendship, in marriage and in everything. That evening, Henry walked in with a blank face. She stood up trembling. Henry, please tell me it's not true. He looked her in the eye with an expression that was so cold. My dear, it's true and I am moving out. You are my number one while Naomi is my number two. The room went silent. Eucharia's lips trembled. Henry, how could you do this to me and to us? He shrugged. Naomi gives me peace. She slapped him, not out of anger but out of heartbreak that couldn't speak. Peace? You found peace in the arms of my best friend? Tears started running freely down her face. Her voice shook from heartbreak that had waited too long to speak. Henry, she said, where was she when we were in school and couldn't afford one decent meal? Where was she when we stayed in that flooded house, putting buckets under the roof to catch rainwater? Where was she when we wore the same clothes again and again because we couldn't afford new ones? Where was she when I borrowed money to cook for you? Where was she when I stayed up all night helping you write proposals? Henry, where was she when I prayed for you while you slept? Now that things are fine, Now that everything seems to do well, she appears pretending she understands you better, right? So all these years, I was not peaceful and your life moved from level 1 to where you are today. Henry, you think she loves you? She didn't love you when you had nothing. I was the one that loved you when all you had was faith and an empty pocket. And if this is how you repay me, then I withdraw the favor that he that finds a good wife gets. She wiped her tears and walked away. At that moment, Harry's heart broke into pieces. He couldn't gather it again because deep down he knew she was right. Naomi was enjoying the harvest she didn't sow, but Eucharia was the one who tilled the soil with tears. That night, Eucharia sat by the window till morning, her eyes swollen and her heart empty. Nora laid on the couch pretending to sleep but crying quietly. A home that once smelt of love now smelt of betrayal and tears. And somewhere across town, Naomi laid on her bed smiling and whispering to herself, "Finally, he's mine." She didn't know that life was already sharpening its knife for her own turn. If she thought she had won, if she thought that she had finally arrived and that she had collected her best friend's husband, carried his child, and turned herself into Madame Henry, then she was very wrong. For the first few weeks, everything looked rosy. Henry moved in with her and she started behaving like the queen of the world. Instead of her to be quiet, she would post on Facebook. True love can find you anywhere and anytime in the hands of anybody. People in the comment section were confused. Some congratulated her while others whispered behind their screens, "True love care? You mean true wickedness?" But Naomi didn't care. She walked around the estate with pride. Every morning she would tell Henry, "My husband and my king, thank you for choosing me." She will hail and pamper him and went out of her way to do things she didn't do in her first marriage. At first, Henry thought he was happy. The food and place here were different, but deep down, something didn't feel right. He started having strange dreams, seeing Eucharia crying, calling his name, and sometimes holding their wedding photo. Each time he woke up, his chest would be tight. He would whisper to himself, "But what have I done?" Meanwhile, Eucharia was slowly healing or at least pretending to. She buried herself in work, but her eyes were always puffy. Sometimes she would stare at her wedding ring and whisper, "God, was I not enough?" The people who knew her story would greet her with pity. In the markets, some women whispered as she passed, "That's the woman whose friend snatched her husband." She heard them but walked on with her head high. Several months later, Henry's contract started reducing and he started getting distance from Naomi. One morning she served him breakfast. He took one spoon and dropped it. "This food has no taste," he complained. She laughed nervously. "But it's the same way I've always prepared it," he hissed. "Then maybe I've always been eating nonsense." Naomi blinked. "Henry, are you being serious right now?" He stood up and walked away. That was the first time she saw the coldness that was coming. The next week, Henry's business started shaking, I mean visibly shaking. A client he had worked with for years suddenly pulled out. Another one cancelled a contract last minute. His supplier stopped answering calls. Everything that once worked for him started feeling like his name had suddenly turned to bad luck. Naomi noticed he was restless. "Baby, what's wrong?" she asked. He sighed. "Nothing, Jerry." She pressed on. "Is business right?" He nodded. "Yes, it is, but I will sort it out." But he didn't sort it out. The more he tried, the worse it got. Within 3 months, his company lost almost everything. He had to sell one car, then his shares. They moved to a smaller apartment, and Naomi couldn't believe it. She thought it was Henry who really had the money, not knowing that her friend was the highly favored one. This is not the plan at all, she said one night. Did I leave comfort to come and suffer? Henry snapped. You didn't leave comfort though, my dear. You destroyed it. The words slipped out before he could stop them. Naomi froze. What did you just say? Henry looked away. Nothing, but it was already too late. From that day, Peace packed its load and left their home. They fought over small things. Salt in the food, light bill, even remote control. Naomi began shouting every night. This is not what I signed up for. You promised me heaven and on earth. Henry replied, Madam, and you promised to be a human being, not a curse. Sometimes neighbors will knock to beg them to stop shouting. One night, Henry woke up sweating. He had dreamt again. This time, he saw Eucharia standing beside the burning house holding Nora's hand. She said, You built your happiness on my tears. Now it is time for you to see your reward. He jumped up shouting, No, no. Naomi sat up frightened. What is it again? He looked at her with fear in his eyes. Naomi, I think there is fire on the mountain, oh. I beg, stop talking nonsense, she hissed. But 2 days later, their gas exploded while she was cooking, narrowing missing her. Then, their landlord gave them quit notice. It was like trouble came with timetable. Morning, afternoon and night. One evening while Naomi was crying over all that had been happening, Henry just sat in silence. Then, out of nowhere, he said, I want to go and see Eucharia. Naomi's eyes widened. You what? He repeated it calmly. I want to beg her. Maybe she will forgive me. Naomi screamed. Over my dead body, you are going nowhere. Then start digging your grave, he replied. He walked out, and by the time he got to Eucharia's gate, he looked like a shadow of himself. The once neat and confident man was now looking like an unwanted sacrifice. Even the gatekeeper looked at him twice before opening the gate. Oga, are you sure Madame will want to see you? Henry managed a small smile. If she doesn't, I will sit outside till she does. He stood there waiting until Eucharia came out. She was looking radiant. She added flesh in the right places because money day. When she saw him, she froze. For a moment, nobody said a word. Then Henry knelt right there. Eucharia, I am sorry, he said in a shaky voice. I don't even know how to start. I don't know what entered me. Please believe me. Eucharia looked at him for a long time. The man in front of her wasn't her husband anymore. He was a stranger wearing her husband's guilt. Henry, please stand up, she said. He shook his head, tears rolling down. Allow me to kneel. I destroyed everything we built together. I threw away gold for sand. Nora came out and saw the scene. With a trembling voice, she called out, Daddy! He turned and looked at her. My baby girl, but she stepped back. Don't call me that. Her voice cracked and she ran inside. Eucharia turned away before he saw the tears in her own eyes. Henry, you need help, but not from me. I forgave you already, but I can't start again. She walked back inside and shut the door gently, the same way someone closes a chapter that hurts too much to keep reading. Henry stood there for a while, staring at the door, then walked away slowly. As he got to the house, Naomi was not home. Some neighbors told him Naomi had rushed their son to the hospital. He ran to the hospital with panic written all over him. When he got there, Naomi broke the news in the most heartbreaking way. Henry, our son is gone. We have lost everything. His knees gave way. He sat on the floor covering his face. The nurse patted his shoulder. Sir, please be strong. But how could he be strong when the weight of his sins was pressing on his neck? Days passed. But Henry didn't recover. He lost every contract, every friend, and every ounce of peace. It was like his name has been deleted from the book of favor. He started drinking, not for joy, but just to forget how his life used to feel when he still had a home. One night, while lying on the floor, he whispered, God, I know I hurt that woman too deeply. Please forgive me. Meanwhile, Eucharia's boutique grew bigger and she opened a second branch. Nora got into the university and began making her mother proud. She built a new mansion, sold the former, and returned her ring to Henry just to delete every memory she has about him. As for Naomi, she became a ghost of herself. Her beauty faded very fast. Her hair broke and her skin lost color. Even the same people who once envied her began whispering, She doesn't look well, oh. Maybe her hands aren't clean. She sat on her bed one night looking around her empty house, the same house she once called her kingdom, and then she whispered, So, this is how it feels when you take what is not yours. Tears rolled down her cheek, and for the first time in years, she felt small. Not just small, but smaller than the lies she told to get here. Henry looked for Eucharia again, and when he walked into her boutique, she looked radiant, confident, and peaceful. The business looked better than when he left. He smiled faintly and said, You turned out even stronger. She nodded her head, affirming, Oh yes, pain changed and taught me how to stand. Henry knelt down and said, Madam. She cut him off immediately by saying, I have forgiven you, sir. But forgiveness doesn't always mean reunion. So please, if that's what you want to say, stand up and let me see your back. Henry walked away quietly, but then he realized he had lost a good thing. He started talking like a good preacher. A good woman is not just a helper. She is a divine addition that multiplies every good thing around her. Her husband's life changes because she brings God's presence, prayers, and wisdom into his home. She doesn't bring shame but honor and dignity to his name. Oh, foolish Henry, you have lost a good thing. 10 years later, Eucharia's business had grown beyond her imagination. She now had 3 boutiques, a fashion school, and a small charity foundation for single mothers. People who once whispered behind her back now came to her for advice. Nora was now a lawyer, tall and graceful like her mother. On her wedding day, Eucharia sat at the high table, graceful and fulfilled, watching her daughter dance and laugh. Guess who sat beside her? It was Henry. They didn't talk to each other. They just sat together because parents' duty called. When the ceremony ended, he smiled and then he said to her, You look so happy. Eucharia confirmed it. Yes, I am. He brought out something from his pocket. It was an old wedding ring, the one she had sent to him. I kept it, he said, to remind myself what I destroyed. Eucharia took a deep breath. Henry, the past is gone. I forgave you long ago. He nodded. I know you did, but I just want to see that forgiveness in your eyes. They stood there in silence. Two people who had once shared everything, but now they were separated by Jezebel. That silence spoke volumes, and they didn't know when they started crying. Eucharia just said, I wish you peace, and walked away. Henry on his part stood there crying and saying, Oh, my dear Eucharia. A few months later, news spread that Naomi had fallen ill. It started at a mild sickness, but her body refused to recover. No one knew where Henry was. Some people said he had moved to another city to start a new life. One morning, Eucharia received a message from a hospital asking that she comes immediately. When she arrived, Naomi was lying weakly on the bed. The moment she saw Eucharia, she burst into tears. She reached out her trembling hand. I am sorry. I was blind. I wanted your life because I didn't value mine, and the process I lost everything. You carry her hand gently. Naomi, I forgave you a long time ago. You were my friend before you became my enemy. So please forgive yourself and rest your heart. Naomi wept. Thank you, she murmured. Those were her last words to Eucharia. She passed away peacefully that same evening. Hey, African Tales by Kama Tribe, how are you all doing? For me, I am doing just fine. Before I leave today, permit me to say this. If this was a movie, I would have written it this way. Eucharia would have forgiven her husband. Henry would have moved back home and then life would balance itself again. Naomi's husband will suddenly become rich and Naomi herself will become the biggest loser, maybe even begging at the same gates she once walked through with pride. That would have made everyone smile and say, yes, karma works. But my dear people, real life doesn't always end like that. Sometimes what is broken stays broken. Sometimes love doesn't get a second chance, and sometimes the people you trust the most are the ones life uses to teach you the hardest lessons. Eucharia's biggest mistake wasn't just trusting Naomi, it was ignoring the signs. She saw the jealousy, but she laughed it off. She noticed Naomi's tone, her comments, her stares, but she said, oh, my Naomi cannot hurt a fly. She even silenced her own daughter who tried to warn her. That's how many people lose what they love. Not because they were weak, but because they were blind to silent dangers. So hear me very well. Never ignore people's countenance, but the movements or energy. They speak volumes louder than their words. A smile can hide envy. A joke can hide bitterness. When you feel something is off, don't wave it aside. Design it, pray about it, or walk away very early. Because sometimes what you laugh off as harmless jealousy today can become the poison that ruins your tomorrow. In this life, you must be wise. It is a survivor of the fittest. Nobody truly cares, oh. Have you not wondered why people eat during funerals and even fight over food and drinks? That's enough message. So, my dear tribe, guide your peace, protect your home, and never assume that everyone clapping for you is happy that you are dancing. On this note, I sign out from today's story. Kindly give it a thumbs up, share out to your loved ones, and please share your thoughts with me as well in the comment section. I will love to read from you. Until I bring the next interesting story your way, it's a goodbye from here, and God bless you.